Guys, what is your from the soapbox topic you want to touch on today?
Richard? Well, I mean, we're about to start the 89th legislative session here in Texas, so we're pretty policy focused. We got involved with GOA not too long ago, 2021 is kind of when we started working with GOA. We're their legislative counsel here in the state of Texas, so all these great GOA bills that you see that come out of our office, we're down at the Capitol. We're down at the Capitol for most of the session trying to get these things over the finish line. And there's a lot of interesting things going on that we're working on. Big things are, and it's tough because Texas, it feels like a lot of wind was taken out of the sails. Once we had constitutional or permitless carry passed here in Texas, everybody...
Thank you, GOA.
Thank you, GOA. That was GOA. Everybody, I feel like everybody's like, all right, we won. Let's go home. But we have, if you could see this, we have 10 lifetimes of changes we need to make to Texas law in order to make it comply with the Second Amendment. That's how much stuff we have to do. So we are full steam ahead. There's a ton of things that we need to look at. And I would say the things that we're really focused on this session are bolstering self-defense, improving defenders' rights, protecting them on the criminal side, protecting them on the civil side. And then there's a lot of other fun issues that just need to get addressed.
I just to give you a taste of some of the small things, for example, we have insurers who are all of a sudden pulling insurance company coverage, carriers who are declining to renew gun ranges and clubs and manufacturers. So that's a huge problem we'd like to remedy here. We have, Richard, we haven't actually talked much about a bill on this yet, but we have police departments here in Texas refusing to return guns once someone's case is dismissed. And they're doing an ATF e-trace on every single gun and calling it mandatory, even when there's an order and a very angry defense attorney saying, give me the effing gun right now. I would love to have some sort of bill that sanctions the government for that kind of behavior. So, there is everything you can imagine from, making sure the government doesn't act badly to making sure private companies don't act badly to just fixing the system to make sure that, people don't go broke because they've had to defend themselves and they're fighting civil lawsuits for a decade.
So like last session, for example, so 2 sessions ago, we got constitutional carry here in Texas. Last session, our big victory was basically banning private gun registries. What we had was the ISO, International Standards Organization. They promulgate these things called merchant category codes. There are transaction numbers associated with whenever you swipe your credit card. They created new transaction codes for firearms, ammunition, and accessories. And, what we saw was the government was using this, maybe the federal government. I don't believe that they don't track firearms, and I fully believe they have a database, but they
don't keep a list.
Sure.
It's illegal to keep a list, Richard. Surely they're not doing it.
But their in round or where they could say, oh, this is how we got the information, was they were going to go to these major credit card companies, and it's a third party. And so you have a lowered expectation of privacy there. And so they would just go and gather the information from these private corporations. And so what we did in Texas is we banned merchants from using those codes, and we made some really stiff penalties if these banks and financial institutions don't comply. Some really, really crazy notification. If they accidentally transmit one of these codes, they have to notify the consumer and the attorney general. And so,
Richard made the bank lobbyists really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I got screamed in my face
for a couple months. They were not happy.
But what we're looking forward in this session, another one that we haven't talked about, Scott Pressler put the word out. We need to have voter registration with license to carry applications.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we need that.
Yes, we do.
So, there's all kinds of, automatic reciprocity here in Texas right now. It's up to the governor. There's only a handful of states we don't recognize. We should recognize everybody. We're looking at how can we move that timeline up from self-defense instead of it being at trial. How can we move it further up in the process so that folks aren't going bankrupt paying for lawyers when they're ultimately justified? We're looking at improving. We have a bunch of scumbag plaintiffs lawyers who scumbags that they'll sue self-defenders even when they're found not guilty. Even when their case is dismissed or they're no billed, they're still suing them saying, hey, you need to pay my guy. Do you have insurance? I mean, they just want to,
Yeah,
they just
because
want to shake people down for money.
they do. The insurance companies will pay for anything. And particularly someone gets shot, insurance companies lose their minds. They're terrified of it. They are used to slip and falls. They are used to things that are not intentional acts. And despite the fact that because it's an intentional act, they're actually going to be less liable, they freak out. The lawyers freak out. The carriers freak out. And they're like, oh, here's some money. And then it encourages all the scumbag plaintiffs lawyers to keep doing it.
Yeah. So what we're looking at on the civil side is, hey, if a person has been no billed, their case has been dismissed, or they've been found not guilty, that, hey, you cannot recover damages from that person. If you sue that person, you're going to be responsible for their attorney's fees.
Mm-hmm.
And so we think that that's really going to shut down a lot of these frivolous lawsuits.
You'd hope.
Yes. And then on the self-defense side, and this actually would go for a ton of crimes in Texas, not just self-defense, we're looking at a defense motion to dismiss if an affirmative defense exists. So basically, all right, you're charged with murder. You file a motion to dismiss alleging, hey, the affirmative defense of self-defense is available to me. Burdens on government to prove that self-defense does not apply. If they can't satisfy the judge very early on in the process, then the case needs to be ordered dismissed. So we're really looking at how can we ease this?
Which you would think wouldn't be a tall order because lots of states have something similar. But boy, it is really hard. Once criminal procedure is entrenched in a state, it is really hard to convince the legislature to change it. And so that's an uphill battle, but I think it's one we're committed to.
Yeah. Some other fun things, decriminalizing short-barreled rifles under Texas law.
Yeah.
Just because right now we are tied to federal law, and anytime we see federal law and state law tied together in Texas, we're always attacking it. We should be completely decoupled from federal law.
Mm-hmm.
Texas should be doing its own thing. And so anything else? What else have we got? I know there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. That's a pretty good summary.
Getting rid of gun-free zones. I mean, we're always going to go for that, So we got a full plate.